Hi, everybody. I'm Dinesh Chawla, one of the co-founders of Cover Your Assets or CYA community. This is a school community, so obviously it's interactive, and we want people to just talk and figure out what we can do as middle class to play like the rich kids. And that's one of the things that I'm going to be teaching you and trying to facilitate discussion on is how do we play like the rich kids? How do we use strategies of the ultra wealthy and scale them down to make it work for our lives when it comes to asset protection, control, growth, and succession. How do we protect our assets while still maintaining control over our assets and have the ability to grow our assets so we can give our assets to the next generation? That's what succession is. So before I get started, I am an attorney, but please do not take this as legal advice. Not everything that comes out of my mouth is legal advice that you should go run with. Even though I am an attorney, don't always consider everything I say advice. All right. This is general education, points that you should know so you can utilize them in your own life. And we'll show you how to utilize them in your own life in the paid section or on the paid videos. So watch out for those. We got one coming up in our next video for this tax series, but for right now, we're going to explain capital gains taxes. Okay, so there are two forms of capital gains taxes: short-term capital gains and long-term capital gains. If I own a property for less than a year, the gain on that property is going to be taxed at my ordinary income level. Okay, so, or as ordinary income, I should say. So let's put it to you this way. If I have a random $50,000, okay, and I put it into a flip property and I fix it up and I flip it within 6 months. And when I flip it, it's worth $70,000. So I sell it for 70. Now I put 50 in and I flipped it for 70, and there's a $20,000 gain there. Okay. So that $20,000, we're not worried about the 50 that I put in. That was pre-tax. But let's say I'm making 100,000 as it is. Okay. So I'm getting taxed at the $100,000 level, which I believe is somewhere around 22%. Okay. So let's call it 22%. Now I've got an extra $20,000 in gain. That $20,000 is going to go towards my 100,000 in ordinary income, and now I'm going to have 122,000 of, I'm sorry, 120,000 of ordinary income taxed at the 22% level. So that's where you that's how a short-term capital gain is used, or I'm sorry, is paid out. But um, they're not, even though they're less favorable than long-term capital gains, and we'll get into that in a second, they do have some of their advantages. Like they can offset some capital losses if you have them. And we'll show you how to structure things later on in these courses, or maybe through just random chats on how to structure capital losses on purpose to lower your tax liabilities. Okay. And that's one of the reasons that the ultra rich does things like that. Now, let's talk about long-term capital gains. Anything we hold for more than a year is considered a long-term capital gain, and they are taxed at very preferential rates. So it's either 0%, 15%, or 20%, depending on what our income is. All right. And I believe, yeah, we've got the income brackets over here. So if I'm single, and let's say I'm making that same $100,000. So I'm getting taxed at around 22%, right? And let's say that um, I want to pull out an additional $50,000, or let's say I want to pull out, let's say I sold that same house, okay?